Hi, my name is Adam Grayson, and I'd like to show you a system I'm developing to drive a deformation shader based off of the animation curves of an object. The goal of this is to take fluid meshes generated in RealFlow and get them into an engine. I'll demonstrate the workflow starting with a simple cube. And for now, I'll give the cube a basic animation just to move up in all three axes. I'll then run a script that creates emitters attached to the object's vertices, creates locators, point constraints to those emitters, and then bakes the animation onto the locators, thereby giving me the animation curves of every vertex on the object. The script also creates an XML file, which you can see on the right, that outputs all of the vertices' positional data over time. I then run the script on the left, which uses the XML to create 3 polynomials per vert, which describe the x, y, and z animation curves. More specifically, it gives all of the coefficients of each of these polynomials. It then creates an XML containing the polynomial and the coefficients of each attribute of each vertex. Right now I'm using a 49-degree polynomial, which is very much overkill, but I'd like to demonstrate its accuracy by graphing it. As you can see, the curve generated from the polynomial is essentially identical to the animation curve in Maya. And rather than storing one data point over 60 frames of animation, I've managed to store only 50 data points with the same result. This efficiency obviously increases the longer the length of the animation and the more you reduce the polynomial degree. The script also generates a TGA, which holds the coefficients in the RGBA values of each pixel. It'll be much faster to read this data from a texture on the GPU than it would be to read it from an XML or a text file on the CPU at runtime. And as you can see by looking at the bottom left pixel, which was the first one written to, the RGBA values in the texture match those that are listed in the XML. And then again, by looking at the top rightmost pixel, we can see that the texture did indeed output the correct values. Now all of this is well and good, but admittedly we've only been dealing with a cube with a very simple animation curve. What if we deal with something a little bit more complex with a more complicated curve? The script can handle that too, but obviously the more verts you track, the more time it'll take. And as you can see, all of that vertex tracking data has successfully been written to the XML. And now to create the texture. And once more, let's check to see that the values written in the XML match those we see in the texture. And indeed they do. Perfect. And while that 49-degree polynomial was a little unwieldy for the cube and the simple animation curve, let's see how it holds up against a much more complex curve. And while it doesn't match exactly, it's a pretty close approximation. Once in the HLSL, the shader uses the object's vertex colors as an index and an offset to read the texture and get the coefficients out of the texel data. Unfortunately, the code is still incomplete, so in most cases the vertices don't actually move, but if given the correct values, the shader does successfully displace the vertices. And while this project has yet to reach the goal it set it to accomplish, I think I made some great progress. I've learned a lot, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing working on it.